Welcome to the show. And today's question we're going to answer, it seems simple enough, right? What can I afford? This is the right place I should be starting, isn't it? Should be. But you know what? After 20 years, I've seen firsthand how this question can completely demoralize and derail aspiring first-time homebuyers because people are asking the wrong version of this question. But there is a solution, so let's get to it. Go time.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
What's happening, my How to Buy a Homies? I'm David Sidoni, and here's what's up. Hopeful first-time homebuyers, they ask the question, all right, what can I afford? That means they want to know how much of a loan can they get and how much is that going to cost them each month? Or maybe they're even thinking, hey, some dude on a podcast keeps telling people you can do this, but can I? Really, man? With my income and my debt? How much home could I really afford? Okay, before I break that down for you, I'm going to give you some real quick housing market updates for January 2026 because there's some good news for you. Yeah, right now it looks like you're going to be affording more. Because according to a recent Redfin report of the 50 most populous metro areas in the United States, we are currently in the strongest buyer's market on record. Let me say that one more time. The strongest buyer's market on record. There were roughly 47% more home sellers than buyers last month. That is ridiculous. There were around 631,000 more homes than there were buyers for them. That is the historic high. Now, what's crazy about that is that during the last month, interest rates, they hit their lowest point in 3 years, and home prices only went up 0.1%. So wait a minute, we got the lowest interest rates ever, home prices aren't going up, and there's good inventory out there. That's the perfect buyer's storm, with affordability being the best it's been in years. But we still had this crazy slow market, which means we still have a big buyer's market. Because right now, at the end of 25 and now here into 26, there's confusion, fear, and lack of correct buying power information. And that's keeping the buyers out of the market. This is the winter window of opportunity. I told you about it back in 24 from November to March of 2025. That was going to be a winter window of opportunity. And the stats and data came in and it was all verified. And I'm saying it's happening again right now. And now this report tells us you have an even better opportunity than you did last year. This is a big time year. Leverage and power, they're in the educated buyer's hands. And it's going to be going that way for the next few weeks. I'd say getting into March and April, and then everyone's going to thaw out and there's going to be competition. And of course, that gets us back to today's topic. You're like, all right, dude, cool. You want me to take advantage of this winter window of opportunity. But when I ask the question, how much can I afford? The answer sucks. And I'm going to have to wait. Okay, here's how it works. You're just asking that question to figure out how much you can afford in this market. And maybe some of you are even thinking, I don't even know if it's worth it for me to check it out. I totally understand that. The process of going from renter to buyer, it can feel epically overwhelming. And especially now. We got high home prices. We have higher interest rates, or at least that's what we heard all year last year, but it has dropped. Still not 4%, but they are good. And we also keep hearing that insurance prices are running amok. So I feel you. In 2026, you'd like to hear some nice, solid, concrete news, clear so you can understand it and figure out what you can actually afford. Now, most people, when they ask that question, they turn to the internet and they punch into whatever they're punching into, Google or any of the AI stuff. Where do I start? What could I afford now? Or should I even think about it? Boom. There it is. That's the dream killer. That's the problem right there. Now, these are totally reasonable questions, but they're not going to help you get the right answers. And most importantly, they're not going to help you get to the goal because 99% of the lenders and the realtors are going to give you the wrong answer to that question. Here's what they're going to say. They're going to say, hey, great. Come on in, Mr. Buyer. Let's make this happen. Let's run your numbers and get you pre-approved for a home loan. Wrong. And over the last few years, I've seen this answer from so-called real estate professionals absolutely murder the American dream. Their answers keep perfectly capable buyers stuck as renters. Their wrong answers have single-handedly raised the average age of first-time homebuyers from 32 years old, where it usually is, to 40 years old in 2025. I'm absolutely sure of that, and it frickin' pisses me off. Most people, including a whole bunch of people that are so-called professionals in real estate, they're going to assign this astronomical jump in the average age increase to an increase in home prices and interest rates. No, that is not it. And I've got the data. Here's why that age actually jumped. Even though prices and rates were going up, that's not what really did it, because there still are affordable options. There are tools and tactics to help people build their American dream. But the big corporations of real estate ignore massively underinformed aspiring first-time homebuyers by not answering this simple question with the correct guidance and the correct coaching. Answering your logical question, how much home can I afford? By answering that incorrectly, that is the main reason for the fear, the despair, and the drop in the number of first-time home buyers in our nation, killing the American dream for millions. Okay? Who doesn't believe me? Who's like, bro, you're nuts. Age has gone up because housing is unaffordable. It's due to those stupid high prices and high interest rates. People just can't afford it, dude. All right, I'm all about love here on this podcast, but I have to respectfully disagree with you. People have been told they can't afford it because big real estate sucks at answering the question. They kill the dream with their answers, because when would-be first-time home buyers don't get an answer that makes sense for them, they are then told to go out and fend for themselves, save more money. They offer no plan for these people on how to do that and what they need to do to get themselves in a position to buy, so people just bail. And that is bull. With the right answer to the question, affordability can still happen even today in 2006. I've been coaching the correct process, and we have seen the results here. Here's how you beat the system. Real estate has a loophole. With most unavoidable, take it or leave it, monopolistic corporations and industries, people like Big Pharma or Big Oil or Big Beef, yeah, Google that one. The U.S. beef packing federal investigation about colluding to keep your beef prices up the last couple of years. That's no fun. Monopolies and industries like that have totally price fixed everything. And as a consumer, you don't have any option. But with real estate and your housing purchase, they haven't 100% rigged that game. There is a loophole. You as the consumer have options when you buy. 99% of the time, you're going to get fed into that machine of despair. But you don't have to accept that crappy service and the incorrect answer to the question from the 99% of the people. When you're asking, what can I afford? You might think that 99% is your only option. It's not true, because here's what to avoid. Understand, when you ask the question, how much home can I afford? They're going to answer, let's get you pre-approved first, and that will tell us how much home you can buy. Now, their only goal right there is to get you a number that works for you and then shove you into a quick deal. There is zero discussion of what's best for you. So you as a buyer, that's discouraging moment number one. And then if they don't go through all the variables and your number comes in lower than the buyer would want, well, then the next answer that these people that are supposed to be helping you actually give you is horrible. What they say is, all right, well, if you want to get pre-approved for the price that you want and you want it to be affordable for you, you're either going to have to increase your income or save a whole bunch of money, or you're going to have to reduce all your debt. Bam, there's discouraging moment number two. Most renters, they just sulk away back to their landlord and pray that the housing market will go down so they can afford something. That's why the average age has gone up to 40, because there are options. But instead, people are getting this atrocious level of service. And of course, people are going to bail on the idea. I mean, they came in curious, maybe even a little excited. So they asked what was supposed to be an authority on this entire home buying process, and they ended up getting a soul-crushing answer that feels impossible for them to navigate on their own. And what sucks worse, they didn't get the truth. Nobody wants to take the time to put in the work to show them how they can get to an affordable solution efficiently. So that's why our average age is at 40. It's not the high prices or the high interest rates. That is my hot take. And it's proven with data and numbers. And on episode 426 on the low down payment affordable options, and it is literally refuted in the success stories, the interviews over the past couple of years when prices were even higher and rates were even higher. And you can find them all in the episode guide and hear how people got it done. Here's what you can do to get your real answers so that you can beat these national averages and find that loophole. I guarantee you, So many more curious renters and younger renters would have become homeowners years faster if the sequence of trying to figure out what you can afford went like this. A renter asks a realtor or a lender, "Hey, how much house can I afford?" The correct response is, "All right, first, let's discuss what monthly payment fits into your lifestyle, into your life right now, one that makes you feel comfortable and stable. Then we'll find out what you get approved for based on your income and your debts today. And then we'll take those two pieces of information and we'll explore the multiple different options that are available to you today. And if none of those feel comfortable for you right now, we're going to explore alternative options. And if none of those fit for you today, well, then we'll build you a strategy with action steps that you can take to construct a plan that's going to get you to your goal." See, with working with first-time home buyers, I have to go through all these different options. And I can let you know, I'm sure there are a bunch of options that we can help you learn about that you haven't thought about. And some may take a little planning. And what we'll do is we'll work together so I can share all the different techniques with you, and I'll show you how to take advantage of every opportunity to buyers that's available today. And if it doesn't work today, together we'll create a roadmap for you. And while you're building up everything you need to buy a home, we'll all be here for you, and we'll let you know if anything changes. There could be advantageous and beneficial things that happen in the housing market or with interest rates that could speed up your home buying process. We'll do this all together. And that's the loophole that gives you leverage. Did you assume that, oh my God, I assumed everybody did it like that? Nope. 99% of the industry doesn't do it like that. And I know maybe you came here thinking, you know what? I just want to understand this. Give me a mathematical breakdown of how a person figures out how much loan they can get and what they get approved for and what that's going to cost per month. Okay, look, I get it. I understand that. But I didn't want you to hear the formula, so you go out and run your own numbers and then turn off the podcast. First, I wanted you to know that the question that seems reasonable and logical isn't getting the right answer. Now we can get into it because now you know that there's so much more than just running those few numbers. Here's how the process goes. The first piece of the puzzle is your debt to income ratio, known as your DTI. Debt to income ratio is one of the most powerful levers in home buying, and it's one of the least understood by home buyers because it's not being explained correctly to them. And so millions of 20 to 40-year-olds delay their home buying because they're not taught all these powerful tactics that they can apply when they're working their debt to income ratio. The basic mathematical formula for your DTI is the percentage of your gross monthly income taken from the total of your minimum monthly debt payments plus the amount of a future housing payment. Now, if this is new to you, go ahead and rewind that. There are important things you need to hear there. It's your income and your minimum monthly debt payments. It's your gross income, but it's not your gross debts. It's just your minimum monthly debt payments. So that total of your gross debt, that doesn't mean squat to the banks who you're going to be talking to try to get a home loan. Only your minimum monthly payments. That is how they calculate what payment you're going to qualify for using that DTI when you're asking them for a loan pre-approval. And then that monthly payment of that loan determines on the price of the full loan that they're going to give you. That's how much house you can afford. Now, most of the people out there, they're going to take some of your information and they're going to spit out a couple numbers for you, the maximum loan amount, the monthly payment. But what if you're not comfortable with that number? Well, then you're told save more money or make more money and then come back later. That's wrong. Once you understand how the debt to income works, you and your team can start to tweak your personal finances in a variety of different ways that can create more affordable options for you, either increasing your loan amount or decreasing your monthly payment. Now, naturally, what most people think is that the easiest way to lower your monthly payment is to lower the loan amount, right? So you're going to be putting more money down. Lowering your loan amount to lower your payment, that's truly the number one most miscalculated, incorrectly assumed, and overestimated savings in the history of home buying. To explain that to you, let's go to my friend math. Technically, a lower loan amount does mean a lower monthly payment, but strategically, without a professional guide offering you other options available to you, you trying to save up to lower your loan amount with a bigger down payment versus exploring all of the true options besides saving up for that fatty down payment, that can be the difference between renting for 3 years or finding an option and being able to buy in 3 months. All right, for example, if your DTI got all calculated out and you were approved for a $450,000 home, Now, let's say you did that with a 10% down payment. You'd be putting $45,000 down. And on a 6% mortgage interest rate, your payment's going to be $2,800 a month. Whew, you think $2,800, that's going to be a stretch for me. So without the right guidance, what most people do is, well, it looks like I'm going to have to save up for a 20% down payment so I can get a lower monthly payment. And also, while I'm saving up, I got to hope that home prices stay the same or don't go up. And gosh, I hope interest rates don't go up. But here's the math behind that decision. 10% down is $2,800 a month. 20% down, that's only $2,500 a month. But it costs you another $45,000. You're only saving $300 a month. Now, compare that, which is what, just $3,600 a year, to how much money you lose in rent for all the years that it takes you to save up $45,000. Just because you wanted to make sure you got that $300 a month savings. Look, we'll be generous. What if you could save an enormous $2,000 a month? That's still going to take you almost 2 years to go from 10% down to 20% down for you to save another $45,000, all to save $300 a month. Well, if you're renting somewhere for $2,200 a month, that's $52,800 that you gave to your landlord just so you could save $300 a month. And that has nothing to say with what potentially could happen with home prices or interest rates in that time. Not to mention the loss of 2 years of homeownership tax benefits, the free value appreciation if the home goes up in price during that time, and the benefit of a rent replacement strategy, taking that $52,800 and putting it into the forced savings account of the home that you own. Now, if that didn't make sense to you, rewind and listen to it, but I can't tell you how many people can't even explain 10% of the math that I just gave them, but they are sure that a bigger down payment is going to save them more money, so they're going to wait. And this is just scratching the surface of one of the mathematical strategies that, when implemented with the right planning, can move your home buying date up by years. And similarly, there is math to dispute the other giant myth with buying a home. There's a huge negative stigma on PMI. That's the extra monthly fee for private mortgage insurance, the PMI. Now, you have to pay that if your down payment is less than 20%. The math shows that payment is minuscule when you are properly shown the full equation of the gains versus the losses. Now, if you haven't listened to them yet and you have questions and you think, I don't know about this one, dude, all the details are in episode 198. And it's appropriately titled PMI is a Privilege. And it's also spelled out for you again in episode 216. PMI, still a privilege and still not the devil. Now, when it comes to calculating your debts for qualifying for a home, that's another way that you could find dozens and dozens of new affordable options for you. Like, what if you have a $700 a month car payment on a $30,000 car loan? Well, that $700 a month payment, when it counts against your monthly debts, that's actually going to cost you $100,000 worth of loan approval. So what if you sold that car and you bought a used car cash, or you just reduced down to a one-car family? Well, now you got rid of that $700 payment and you're like, well, okay, that's cool. But oh, wait a minute. I'm approved for $100,000 more in a home loan? Yeah, there's all kinds of things you can do like this. Monthly obligations, the minimum payments, they matter just as much as your income. And when buyers take control of those obligations intentionally, there's a lot of times they unlock options they didn't realize were available to them. They discover that instead of needing to save $30,000 to try to decrease their loan amount, actually what they could do is they could pay off a monthly obligation they have. Say you put $15,000 towards that, and now you can get approved for $100,000 more in house. And you'd still have an extra $15,000 in the bank. Whereas if you took the $30,000 and you just did it to decrease your loan amount, great, you save $300 a month. Look, I know you came here for clarity. I'm throwing a whole bunch of numbers out at you and a whole bunch of math, but the results of this, they're life-changing. You don't have to figure all this out on your own. You just have to find the people who can help you get through that loophole and lay everything out for you. And if you're sitting there thinking, oh, this sounds great, that's awesome, but you can't do that with my student loans. Hey, remember this fact. Home lenders don't care if you have $30,000 in student loans or $300,000 in student loans. Only number that matters is how much you minimally are required to pay each month. Your gross amount of debt never matters, including those student loans. And there are a bunch of more tactics when it comes to presenting your monthly debt and even presenting your income. How many of you out there are 1099 people, or you own your own business, or you're self-employed? Yeah, there's a bunch of things you can do to show your income differently, still keep the lifestyle you want, but also get approved for a much bigger home loan. And these examples are just scratching the surface. The problem is too many people get discouraged when they just look at the rudimentary, simple numbers. There's so much math with your DTI that can be responsibly reframed to help you find affordability that works for you. But you're never going to know about those strategies when you talk to the 99% of the lamos in real estate. I wish that were not true, but straight up, gang, this is the truth. You're going to need to use the 1% to find the loophole. The excellent first-time homebuyer specialists in your area, they're going to show you what true affordability is. But wait, there's more. When you're working with a true 1%er, that sounded wrong. No, I mean like a 1%er, the good kind, not the billionaires that are creating all the monopolies and the collusion and the price fixing. I'm talking about the good 1%ers, the loophole people. When a true advocate is answering your questions of how much home can I afford? I want to buy a house. Cool. They know that you're going to get the two numbers approved for you, your price and your monthly payments. But they also know that there are a ton of different options, not just stock answers. Because most people are told, all right, well, here's the price you're approved for, and here's the monthly payment at 20% down, 10% down, and 5% down. That are just some of the basics and absolutely not your full picture. But that's what 99% of the industry is doing on purpose. It's their strategy. See, they want a sale. So they throw out these three simple numbers at you to see if you're going to bite on any of them so that then they can rush you into sale so they can get paid. And if you don't bite, then they'll give you that answer. Well, all right, you got to save up and come back in 6 months and we'll see where you're at. And they do that because they realize you're not an immediate sale. They want to move on to their next opportunity to get somebody else who's willing to just jump on their numbers. And the worst culprit is Zillow's loan advisors. I just read an article where they are doubling down on that department because they want to run just this machine, a loan factory at full tilt so they can bring them in, chew them up, spit them out, and keep their numbers game running. It's just processing people like you are an individual sale or no sale. And then they move on to the next one if you're a no sale. And they let you go out all by yourself to try to figure out how to come back so you can get an approval that makes sense for you. The 1%ers out there, they know that your total money in to buy a home, it can be hundreds of different options, not just here's the payment at 20% down, 10% down, and 5% down. In fact, here at How to Buy a Home in the last 2 years, when it was as tough as it's ever been for first-time homebuyers, we've had people utilize all sorts of different variables, actual affordable low down payment options, or down payment assistance programs and grants, or several other options that open up new pathways of affordability for them. Now, these variables, they can reduce that total number that you get when you just punch your numbers in with an online lender. They can reduce that by tens of thousands. And with the right realtor and lender, you can even create a plan where you're like, gosh, boy, we still need to save another $10,000. Well, what happens if we go out and we ask for the credit from the seller to cover our closing costs with our offer? It can be right in our offer. And if they don't accept it, all right, well, we move on to the next one. And that will greatly reduce how much you need to save before you can even start the process. And sometimes after your deal is accepted, you can still negotiate credits that get paid to you from the seller, and you can use those for your closing costs. Here's the examples we've had the last couple of years. People buying $300,000 and $400,000 homes for under $10,000 in total costs for the down payment and the closing costs. And two buyers who actually paid, one of them was $120.95 and the other one was $31.25. For reals, that happened. We had one dude, episode 399 was Nick. He bought a home for $3,700. That's all he needed. And another couple that bought a duplex for $12,000 all in. And that keeps going up even with some of our high cost of living areas. We had a buyer that bought a $550,000 home, cost him $32,000 all in. And we had another buyer get a home and it was $800 and something thousand. And because of the grants and the credits and understanding some of the low down payment options that were available to them, $45,000 total to buy a home that's almost $1 million. And there's even more options than that. We have interviews with people that use the USDA loan or a VA loan. That's for military or veterans. Those have zero down payment options. And those buy homes of all ranges, not just $200,000 and $300,000 houses. You can buy homes as much as you want, and all you have to do is pay the closing costs, which is usually only about 3% of the purchase price. In fact, we even had an interview with one buyer that when they went to one of the 99% of the people out there that were helping them answer the question, okay, what do I need to buy a home? They were told that based on their income, they absolutely needed a 30% down payment to qualify. Turns out when they talked to a unicorn team, they qualified for a 0 down payment. Can't make this stuff up. Online lenders and mortgage calculators are garbage, and they are screwing over renters with incomplete and discouraging information. But it's incomplete. Everybody from the $200,000 buyer to the $1.5 million first-time home buyer in New York or San Francisco or all the other crazy expensive places in the country, you're not being told all your options, and it's costing you wasted years, trapping you in the rent cycle, and pushing that average age of the first-time home buyer to freaking 40 years old. And keep in mind, when you're looking at the full picture with the right people, some people figure out these low-cost purchases are available immediately, and they didn't think they could do it. But for others, they figure out they need to create a plan with guidance and practical financial action steps. And yeah, with the right first-time homebuyer specialists, they understand that's part of the job and they enjoy it. The answer isn't here, go make your numbers work. The answer is, all right, this is a starting point. Let me show you what we can do with this. It's a starting line. You might have 3 yards to run, or you may discover you need coaching to run a mile, or maybe you even need to run a marathon. And if you're looking for some deeper details on this, there's math in episode 426. And if you're freaked out about stretching too high on your monthly payment and you absolutely don't want to be house poor, cool. Episode 440 has boatloads of math, so you can confidently build your plan, avoid being house poor. If you want some of the basic rent versus buy math, that's in episode 355. I know prices are high and I know interest rates aren't great right now, but if every renter this January listened to this episode here, along with episode 426, 440, 441, and 355, we could lower the average age down to 30 years old by 2027. I'm telling you, it's not impossible in 2026. It's just not being shared. You can freaking do this. Now, if you're new to the podcast and this is your first episode that you hear, you probably think I am totally insane or I'm trying to sell you something. So to validate my authenticity as well as my sanity, go to episode 400. That's where you get the #1 trusted first-time homebuyer system in the United States, broken down into 10 episodes and 10 steps. After that, go to the ones I just talked about, the playbook, 440 and 441. And if you're brand new and you just want to understand some of the words that I'm saying, I break down all the terms and definitions starting at episode 94. It's every term in real estate from A to Z. And of course, we'll also put the full episode guide in the show notes. That's where you can find all this information as well as titles for anything else that I haven't talked about today, but everything buying a home is covered there. And even if you're brand new, the cool thing is after this episode, you can walk away knowing you have far more options than what you get told when you just put in a quick application and they spit out a yes or no answer. Far, far more. A true team dedicated to being your advocate. They're going to look at your full picture. They're going to look at your financial and your personal goals. They're going to find out, do you want to avoid being house poor, or do you want to get in as quick as you can so you can build an empire and this first home is going to be the starting point? Do you want to use this purchase to assist your family? Is there other personal things going on with what this home buying means for you? Do you want to know if there are beneficial buying options because, you know what, you might be moving soon, or you want to make sure you keep your traveling budget? Well, spoiler alert, yes, there are options for that. And you will end up more wealthy while you're also living the life that you envisioned instead of being trapped in a rent cycle, which doesn't have any options for you. And as the years go by, it's tougher and tougher to get out of. Buying a home isn't just a financial decision. It's not just a simple answer to the question, what can I afford? And then jumping on that. It's a plan that interacts with every other aspect of your life. It's not one simple answer. It's a sequence of education. And when you are informed and learning all of your options, the decision that you make, it's not going to be a decision at all. It's just going to feel like the natural next step that you're going to take with confidence. That idea becomes even more powerful when you hear it echoed by a buyer who actually lived through the process. Joelle from episode 163, she's one of the clearest examples of someone who confidently followed her natural education and planning sequence to housing affordability. Now, she had to get there though. First, She had to understand affordability emotionally, not just financially. Once she shifted from trying to win the market through the crunching of the numbers, she discovered this purchase would help her build a life that felt stable. Her decision-making process, it moved from how much was the bank going to lend me to, hey, how do I want to craft my life through this home purchase? In that episode, she said, I want to make sure we weren't house poor. Like, yeah, we could do it, but we still wanted to live our life. Now, when she said we still wanted to live our life, she's talking more than just entertainment and traveling. She's talking about preserving flexibility and not turning home ownership into a source of anxiety. She wanted to know she'd have a sense of control, and she figured it out. And that right there, that's what real affordability is. In her story, she shares how she sought counsel. Woo, try saying that 3 times fast. She shares how she sought counsel from her friends, her mother, and most importantly, a qualified first-time homebuyer specialized real estate support team who didn't hit it and quit it with her with a simple pre-qualification numbers followed by, there you go, now go buy a house. She didn't feel pressure. Instead, she got educated, and the rest was natural. And like I said, there's other episodes that we talk about this. In episode 215, I have an incredible interview with that ADU guy. Now, he lays out multiple examples of how adding a rental unit to your home purchase can make affordability happen in so many different ways. But you have to kind of go through the whole process to understand, oh, wait a minute, if I do that, then that means I subtract this and I add that. Wow, now it's affordable. And in episode 321, Sam and Kristen, they were just getting married. And they weren't sure that buying a home in pricey Long Island, New York was possible for them. But when they asked the right questions and then they got the right answers, they ended up going under contract for their first home while they were on their honeymoon. And I told you about my boy Nick from 399. Nick is my dude. He waited 2 years trying to figure out how to make buying a home affordable. And after 2 years, when he finally asked the right people the right question, he bought a $312,000 home for $3,700. And there's a couple good ones recently. Episode 430 is with Cynthia, 25-year-old single woman who bought her dream home, and it only cost her $12,500 for down payment and closing costs all in. And the one that just dropped, Abigail, another great episode, $400,000 home. She started with just $10,000. Now, try to do the math on that. If you go into someone and say, okay, what do I need for this? Well, they're going to tell you at 5% or 10% or 20% down. Well, $10,000, that's not even 5%. But yeah, listen to the episode. She got the keys in 3 months. And then another good one to show you an example is episode 424. We got the whole unicorn team together on that episode. We had the realtor, the lender, the buyers, and me. And we walked through the whole process so you can see how people discover options when they're surrounded by a supportive team. You don't need the perfect conditions to buy a home, and you don't need to wait for a crash that isn't coming. You need the 1% of professionals willing to show you all the variables and the options for a plan that works for you, even today in this 2026 market. Remember what I said at the beginning? Like, this is the best buyer's market we've had in decades. So let's freaking go. Wait, before you go real quick, can you help me spread the word? Share this with your family and your friends. They deserve to know the truth too. And if this helped you out in any way, write a review also, because that helps grow the revolution. More people find us. And if that happens, we are going to drop the average age of first-time home buyers this year. And that means more people get to live the American dream instead of just struggle to try to find it. Go to howtobuyahome.com and let's get you started with a unicorn support team that can reveal all your options to you and help you get your plan so you can get there. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.